Hello folks, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be cleaning carburetor on this here Craftsman 4000. It's not dilly-dally, go ahead and get right into it. Alright, let's start off with this carburetor. You're going to need a few tools. First one, if you have this here little hose clamp, you'll need either a little flathead or a little Phillips head to get it off. You're going to need sockets and a ratchet, a few different sizes, and possibly a box end wrench here and there. And I apologize if I sound real sniffly. I've been dealing with allergies a lot recently. So first, what you need to do is, if you have it, use your fuel cutoff. This one has it, but it's broken. So I got my little gas can right here. Undo this here little hose clamp. And I'm going to use my little can to catch gas that comes out. Since this is clean gas, I want to keep it. First, what you're going to need is an 8mm to get this little bracket off right here. There's a screw right here, a screw right here. They are different bolts. The threads on them are different. One goes into plastic, and it's got coarser thread and a pointed tip. And the other goes into the engine case, and it has fire thread, and it doesn't have a pointed tip. You can see, here's the first one. That's the one that goes into the air box. It's plastic. And the second one, you don't really have to take it all the way out. You can just loosen it a little bit, but that just makes it easier to get to these bolts. Next, what you're going to need, you're going to need a 7/16. If you have a deep well, use a deep well, but if not, just use an extension. You may need, a deep well socket will fit on the back side, but if you have a short one, you have to use an extension. Alright, so now up top, taking the air filter cover off and the air filter. If it has it, there is a 10mm bolt right here that you need to take out. You can use a 10mm or a 3/8. There it is. Alright, and back to the carb. Now that we have the airbox loose, you can slide that guy right off, set that aside. Sorry. So now, here's where, if you don't have a deep well socket, you're going to need a wrench or powered channel locks or something. And I do not have the right size deep well socket, so I'll be right back with a box end wrench. Alright, and for these studs, you'll need a 8mm box end wrench, or crescent wrench, channel locks, just whatever you have. No big deal. Just be careful with channel locks if you use them, because you'll mar them up. As you can see, when I got this mower, all I had was limited tools. I didn't have any box end wrenches, but I had channel locks, and you can see I tore that bolt all up, and that stud. Now that you got studs out, just be very careful. You have to get the choke lever that can actually come out, but it does sit right there. It sits right there, and I'll put it back in as soon as you take off the carb, back to where it goes. Right there. And now you have a spring big long spring that goes to the governor arm. Take that guy off, set it aside, and the governor arm. There's your carburetor. All right, now we're over at the workbench. Here's your carburetor. Need 10mm socket to get the bowl nut off. There's the bowl. This is a brand new carburetor, so it's very clean. There's the bowl. There's a little bit of sediment down in there. But I put this carburetor on, and I took the transaxle out of this lawnmower to weld it, because I'm actually going to be making it into a mud mower. Alright, for the emulsion tube, which is right in that little hole, that big hole right there, that's the emulsion tube. You'll need a flathead screwdriver to get it out. If it's a real old carburetor, they can be seized in there, and sometimes you have to use a specialized screwdriver that is specifically for the emulsion tubes, or else you'll strip them out and break them. There's the emulsion tube. And this is clear. They typically are, unless it's been sitting for a long time. The emulsion tube is a pretty big jet, and it takes a lot to clog them. What's usually clogged is your pilot jet, but it doesn't look like we can take that out on this carburetor. Alright, emulsion tube's back in now. Take this gasket off if you want, you don't have to. Just hit that with the bowl. Now we're going to take off the floating needle. First you gotta get this little pin here out. And be very careful when doing this. They're small parts and are very easy to lose. There's your floating needle. That's your needle. That's what controls the amount of gas going into the bowl. Alright, now we're going to take our brake clean, or carb clean, or whatever you got, and we're going to spray into the hole that the needle came out of, and you're going to see it come out right here. That means that that jet is clear. There's another jet right there. Spray that one out. And there's a jet in that hole right there. I'll spray it out. There's two jets in the face of the carb. There's one right there, one right there. I'll spray those out as well. Alright, so now that we sprayed out the carb, we're going to take our needle and float. I'll put the needle back onto the float. Slide the needle back into its hole. And put back in the pin. There you go. Now, your gasket. That's all. I'm going to give you a demonstration on what the needle and bowl does, or the needle and float does. So the carburetor is sitting right there, it's empty. And as it fills up, gas comes out through the needle. It fills up, and the floats up, and it presses the needle against its seat, stopping the flow of gas. So you can see that's supposed to be nice and free floating. Put your gasket back on, your bowl. Actually, I'm going to spray it out a little bit. There's a little bit of junk in it. There we go. Slide your bowl back on. Sometimes the bowls will have a divot or a dent in them that's supposed to be there. It's for the float to sit all the way down in so that it can actually work right. So you have to make sure that that divot is turned towards the bottom of the float. And now there's one more thing I want to do on this carb. There's an adjustment needle right here. What you're going to do is turn it all the way in and count how many turns it takes for it to go all the way in. And when you put it back in, turn it all the way in and then turn it back out that number of turns, and it'll be at the setting that it was. So this one was only half a turn out, which is very surprising because it's not usually supposed to be like that. So there may have been a problem with this carb from the start. So, I mean, I guess we'll just put it back to that when we put it back in. But take this adjustment screw out and there will be a jet and needle in there. And there's your airflow, air fuel mixture needle. And we're just going to spray that jet out. Nice and clear. Spray the needle off a little bit because this workbench is kind of dirty. Don't lose your spring. That's what keeps it in adjustment. We're just going to screw that adjustment needle and jet right back in. All the way in. Now that you've got it all the way in, turn it back out however many turns it took to turn it all the way in the first time, which for whatever reason on this one is half a turn. And there's your cleaned carburetor. And we're back at the lawnmower. We have our carb, and to put it in, we're just going to do the exact same thing we did, taking it off, but in reverse. So you're going to take your governor arm, put that on, and that one goes in going downwards. There's your governor arm, and now your choke lever, it goes into one of those two holes right there, and it goes right back in. And now hold it here. All I do is just hold it here and use the throttle and choke lever. Make sure everything's working right, which it looks like it is. All right, there we go. And now you're going to take your studs and thread them back through the carb into the intake. But while we're here, might as well talk about what I want to do with this channel, what this channel is going to be about, and just why I'm making this channel. So, whenever I need to work on something, as is with a lot of people, you go straight to YouTube and see what kind of videos you can find. And I do that as well. But a lot of times, when you find the video that you need, it's just the first 10 minutes of the video is just the guy talking about stuff and advertisements. I can't talk today, sorry. It's just, he won't get into fixing whatever it needs to be fixed, and you have to watch 10 minutes of video trying to figure out where he actually starts working on the machine. So I just want to do that and make it a super easy videos to follow along with, to fix your weed eaters, chainsaws, tillers, whatever. And I just want to help you guys with that. And I know it's something that I get frustrated with, trying to find videos, and all of them just take forever to get to the point. So that's just what I'm going to do. Alright, carburetor's back on. Put your air filter, your air box back on, and you're going to take this 10mm bolt, put it back up top. Sometimes you have to put the nuts back on down here first to get it to line up. Get your 10mm socket and wrench. Tighten that fella on down. Alright, you got that guy torqued on down. So now, take your airbox nuts and thread those guys back on. Take your 7/16 and tighten those bad boys back down. And with your airbox, there is a vacuum line back here. You can see it. It's right here. You got to make sure that that is back on that vacuum port right there, or else your engine will be sucking in unfiltered air. So make sure that's back on. Alright, now we're just about finishing up here. Take your little plastic bolt that we were talking about before. That one. Thread it back through the bracket into the airbox. And be careful not to strip it out. And now just tighten this one back down here. It's on the engine. Tighten that back down. Now you can take your air filter, put that guy back on. Air filter nut looks like this. That just threads right on top. You can see. Tighten that back down. Airbox lid. That goes right back on. And airbox cap. Thread that right on back on. Alright, now you can take your fuel line, plug that right on back up. If you haven't, tighten that hose clamp back down. I need a few more for right there and right there because it leaks a little bit, but oh well. What's an old Craftsman lawnmower if it don't leak a little bit of gas? Alright, now we can fill her back up with gas and see if she runs. Alright, now I've got some gas back in her. Now this lawnmower does have electric start, but it doesn't work. So I just got this little pull cord at Walmart for like, I think it was like $6. I just wrap that around the bottom pulley and yank real hard. Make sure that the key is on, which it is. Make sure the clutch is depressed, it's in neutral, and that the choke is up. Let's give her a go. First pull. And now is the time. Take your time and really make sure that the carburetor is dialed in and that it is adjusted to how it should be. Let me get it going again. There we go.